And now to a story we've been following so closely, the rise in sexual abuse against migrants traveling to the United States. In a new investigation, the New York Times spent months in the Darien Gap speaking with migrants who are being victimized and brutalized in unthinkable numbers. The Times reports, quote, aid groups working in the Darien Gap say that in the past 6 months, they have documented an extraordinary spike in attacks with patterns and frequencies rarely seen outside of war zones, and that the assaults often involve cases in which dozens of women are violated in a single event. Joining us now is Julie Turkowitz, Andy's bureau chief for the New York Times. She and Times photographer Federico Rios crossed the jungle multiple times to document the grim reality there. Julie, I am very pleased to have the opportunity to speak with you once again to say how important the work is that you are doing. And you share, among others, the story of one Venezuelan family who traveled through the Darien Gap with their 8-year-old daughter. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me again on the show. I should say that my colleague Federico and I have spent many months, really since 2021, reporting on migration through the Darien Gap. We, in this last trip, saw something that we had never seen before, which is really an exceptionally high level of violence committed against migrants who are traveling through the jungle. And in particular, this violence appears to be systematic and organized and has these exceptionally cruel characteristics that many organizations told us they are not used to seeing, except in cases of armed conflict. One of the families, as you mentioned, that we feature in the...
No, I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
One of the families that we feature in the story is a family from Venezuela. They had traveled from Venezuela, were living in Colombia, had decided to leave. And when they were just about to get to the end of the jungle, they were surrounded by a group of half a dozen men. This is according to the mother and father who we interviewed. And the mother was sexually assaulted. The young girl, the 8-year-old, was told to strip naked along with the other women in the group and was searched for money. And this is really one story that is emblematic of something that we heard over and over and over again. We mentioned in the story that actually in a period of just 4 days, we met 70 people who told us they had been the victims of armed robbery in the jungle, 14 of whom were women who said that they had experienced some level of sexual violence, and that goes from, forcible touching to rape.
And Julie, it's, and the videos that you shot, you're just struck by the amount of people that are going through there. They're men, women, and children who are crossing daily. As you report in your piece, more than 520,000 people crossed the stretch last year. That's more than twice the year before. Are people crossing aware of the dangers? Why are they willing to continue doing this?
Absolutely. And I think it's worth noting that this year the number of people who cross the jungle is expected to rise. The people are aware of the dangers of the journey. They have seen the images online, they have seen the pictures, they understand that robbery, that sexual assault are risks. What I think people don't understand is just how common that has become, because this is really something new that we're seeing in the last 6 months or so. And often these attacks are so violent, and people are taken by such surprise that there's no chance to take a video of this, right? So the videos that are circulating online don't show the most horrible parts of the journey.
Yeah, and I'm just struck by that, those parents, how they said, and the mother said, we can handle it, but they took our little girl's innocence away, and that innocence being taken away happens over and over and over again. And I'm just wondering, Julie, and we'll talk about this in the future, but where's the responsibility of Panama? Where's the responsibility of Colombia? Where is the responsibility of Mexico, who in many ways condones what happens by not acting? But Julie, I can't thank you enough for the extraordinary work that you're doing, and Federico as well. Thank you for being with us this morning. I very much appreciate your time.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.